Hey guys, Inorganic Pixel here. I have some gameplay footage of Haze. I know the last video was a Haze gameplay. To be honest with you, this was not caught. By the way, this is the build that I'm rocking now with Haze. My last video's gameplay has changed pretty dramatically, and I know this is also not caught. Like, you know, the footage you're seeing isn't just normal gameplay. It's actually a recording of a game that happened the other day. I think what's inspiring me to make this video today is specifically some of the things I want to talk about with the current state of Deadlock right now. What's going on with Deadlock? You know, the community, what's everyone kind of thinking? What do I think? You know, I know I'm still a very small YouTuber, but I don't know. This is kind of an interesting way to document and maybe kind of report on the history of my opinion with Deadlock. You know, kind of like how historians document horrible tragedies like 9/11. So yeah, this video really is a lot about, I guess, the current state of Deadlock. I want to talk a little bit about matchmaking. I also want to talk about just maybe some challenges that potentially new players might be having to this game, or challenges that existing players might have with this game currently. And then also just some, you know, going through a few things and talk about the gameplay we're here to see today. Just some maybe ideas on how to kind of help Deadlock currently, or talk about the future of Deadlock still, and it's just some features that I think would maybe improve a little bit of the state of Deadlock. It's an interesting spot right now. Just to get right to the thick of it, there seems to be a lot of people in the community complaining that matchmaking is really broken, or the matchmaking doesn't feel right. And I think that has to stem from people having long losing streaks, people having games where, you know, there's a huge imbalance of skill within the team. The discrepancy between that, it's very large now. And I have some theories as to why that might be, but, you know, my personal opinion is, yeah, I'm dealing with the same thing. I'm losing a lot of games. I have, I'm going to put it on the screen right now, just basically the amount of games that I've been losing and winning. My rank has dropped dramatically since my first Abrams video that I kind of made with this series in mind. And I think that's for a lot of reasons. I think the number one specifically is the lack of players within the game right now. There is a very... The player count is continuously dropping ever so slightly as this game is remaining in, you know, alpha or whatever the state is it's currently in. And that, you know, by the way, to begin with, like, the player count that we're seeing here is what, you know, I would imagine other small, you know, non-Valve sized companies would be very happy with in terms of player count. I don't really worry about the player count number during the alpha test version of this game, but I would, as of right now, I don't know what I could hypothesize what the player count would turn into once this game fully comes out. And that largely depends on, you know, when this game fully comes out and what features it comes with. But going back to, like, the matchmaking piece specifically, you know, with that, the matchmaking pool is now very slim. You have to account that the amount of players playing at a certain time, and also their skill ranking. There's a lot of variables that go into play when calculating and, you know, putting together the matchmaking criteria that would suit best for a match that would be, you know, I imagine what Valve considers fun or a, you know, genuine experience for Deadlock. And that's kind of the footage you're seeing here today. The reason I wanted to capture this footage is because I had this match last night, and, you know, there are still good games to be had within Deadlock. This was, honest to God, one of those games where it was like a 5 out of 5 experience. Like, oh my God, that was just the true Deadlock experience. I had fun. We ended up winning. We had some people on our team who might not have been very used to the Deadlock, you know, game itself, or maybe learning it. So, you know, new players is a solution for that right now with Deadlock. It's just getting into the beta test right now is, you know, it's limited and it's hard. It's not as just as simple as clicking play now or whatever. And, you know, again, it all just boils back to the fact that this is still an early access game, really an early development build game right now. And, you know, the player count, and I imagine even the early development build of this game is they're probably tweaking the matchmaking numbers. I imagine that Valve is doing a lot of testing with this early build of Deadlock during this process. I imagine that's why they have chosen to push this early development build in such a large-scale fashion. And I imagine Valve's essentially just tweaking the numbers right now, or tweaking the, you know, skill rankings a bit. This happened a while back, maybe a week or two prior to this week, but people were complaining, or there was an issue where so many people got like, levels or rankings that were considered like, fairly high, and it seemed that might have had. It seems that might not have been accurate to the what the player like skill rankings should be within this game. There was at one point I recall where people were like being launched all the way up to Eternist or whatever the second or third highest ranking skill match in this game. Valve is essentially, I imagine, testing, what features and what capabilities work well with the game. I imagine Valve's testing their reporting system for the game or their matchmaking system for the game. I imagine Valve's doing a lot of testing with a lot of different features and a lot of different capabilities right now. So when criticism comes in regards to the matchmaking feeling all off and stuff like that, or the matchmaking feeling wonky, I imagine there's a few, one of the main reasons is the player count for sure. I think the second reason, though, too, is that we are maybe experiencing, like, Valve tweaking the numbers around a little bit, trying to maybe suit the matches better, depending on the type of player that you are, or specific builds that you might be working with. There's really not a whole lot said, like, how Valve decides the criteria, and I imagine the science behind a lot of that stuff is a lot more intricate than what most gamers would immediately assume with a lot of multiplayer competitive games. I don't think Valve is simply just copying and pasting this system that worked in Dota into this game. There's a lot of varying factors with Deadlock specifically as a game, and also, the ever-changing state that it's currently in right now. So, I agree. It's not. I think the big issue that people are having right now with matchmaking are two things. Number one, losing constantly, and number two, being paired with people who are just unenjoyable to play with. And that could range from, skill level, but it could also range from just your general attitude as a person. There are some genuinely annoying and hate-filled and really rude people who play Deadlock. I try not to be like that a whole lot, but I have definitely gotten into some arguments with people when playing this game. It's kind of hard not to. Like, there are people, similar to like any other MOBA or really any other competitive kind of game, as of right now, the community's being pushed a bit where we have to learn, and kind of accept the fact where things are with Deadlock at the moment, in this alpha build test environment. And also try to make sure that we're doing a good, as the community, as the game goes on, I'm hoping the players will learn at some point that, it's better to work together as a team in these kinds of games, and constant, like, fighting or constant, spats really all boil down to your perspective of Deadlock and also your perspective of what's going on in the match. And that's kind of what, just to take a whole, like, 10 feet step backwards about what I just said there, to unpack that a bit. Deadlock is a game specifically about your character's perspective in a given moment in combat. You know what I mean? That's kind of, and I think a lot of players forget that. It's really not like a typical MOBA where everything's top down. You see at all times what the people within your general vicinity are constantly doing. There's a lot that you miss theoretically, as a Deadlock player from the perspective in third person. As you can see right now, like, just to prove my point, this Kelvin has an entirely different game right now compared to me based on the situation that he was in. So, like, I in this situation, I find what ruins this game, or what, like, has made this game a bit of a challenge in terms of the social aspect of it very hard, is players not realizing that, or getting disgruntled over that reason, or getting disgruntled over that aspect of Deadlock. The fact that you are not constantly 100% sure about your general region within the actual combat space or the play area of Deadlock. There's going to be a lot of things you miss, like people who do damage to you, ults that might be happening, teammates that might be getting killed off screen because of the perspective that you have within this game. And and what made this game specifically, what made the gameplay I'm showing you today so refreshing, was that it felt like my teammates were all in accord, in kind of an understanding and agreement on that. Like, we were communicative, we were, also very friendly towards each other, we were trying to be, we were polite, we were joking around a bit here and there, and it also felt that way from the other team as well. Like, this was one of the few rare instances as of late where, like, you're getting into games where people are, nice to one another and understanding, and I think that also has to do with the fact that, it just comes back to, again, losing. This typically, that environment goes really south or gets really sour if you are losing a game. And I think that's kind of a big challenge that people have right now with the matchmaking system right now in Deadlock. At least, or, why it's so unenjoyable. I don't think people mind too much losing a game of Deadlock. I personally don't. I mean, I would prefer to win, but at the same time, I think even just losing a game of Deadlock is more fun than winning a game of any other MOBA, League of Legends, I don't know, fucking Counter-Strike, Here's the Storm, freaking Bleeding Edge on the Xbox One. That's why I'm so drawn to Deadlock still, is that winning and losing, or just the act of playing Deadlock, there's so many little things that are still going on where I don't mind the current state of matchmaking. This doesn't like keep me up at night. This isn't like ruining my day. I just hope that other people feel the same way about that. The way I feel about it as of right now is that I agree that the matchmaking is definitely not what it was a month or two ago, or even hell, a few weeks ago. But then again, like the game itself, these characters, the abilities, the ebbs and flows, the tide of the battle, even how gamers are understanding that tide of battle is also not the same. By the way, love this replay feature. I want to know what Abrams is up to. Look at all this crazy footage I'm able to get. I kind of feel like the move might be to just pull recordings of previously played games. So I get those different areas and perspectives. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about that. But anyways, those are my thoughts really about the current state of Deadlock in terms of the matchmaking piece. It kind of segues a little bit into the community aspect of it. I like to think that I try to be polite and courteous to new players. Actually, earlier this week, I was playing with a friend of mine who's very new to the game. Believe it or not, they were the one who actually got me the access code or the invite or whatever you want to call it into playing Deadlock. And I ended up playing it a lot. I ended up putting like 600 hours into it. They haven't touched it since they gave me that, and we played like a game maybe way back in like November of 2024. Early Deadlock I'm talking. And they came back to it recently, a lot of changes and stuff. So, they didn't really have it was a learning experience and a learning, curve that, off of one game they haven't mastered yet, which is totally fine. But again, it comes back to that, issue that I think with new players. Thinking about, the thing that Deadlock needs the most is new players. And unfortunately, that is a concern for me at this current moment. Again, we're in a test environment. I don't know if Valve is putting their focus into that just yet during this current state of the testing period of Deadlock, or alpha build, whatever period of Deadlock. But I hope that when it comes to launch, Valve has some method or some way of making it easier for new players to figure out this game. New players, especially when put into those games where, your teammates are not friendly or are very immature or very rude, can be a nightmare. I had a game where I had that problem where ultimately I'm playing with this friend of mine. I put them into a few bot games. Again, I've already made a video about the problems with the bot games of Deadlock currently. I don't need to reiterate everything I just said there. That wasn't a true experience, though, of the Deadlock ebbs and flows of combat. We ended up winning that game. I don't have footage of that game. I also don't remember the day that was played or whatever, but we ended up winning that game and everything. And, they had a good time playing it, and, they didn't really get a lot of kills. They didn't go absolutely crazy, but, they actually captured some objectives, made some cool moves, did some interesting things. There's still a lot to learn. That was just their first game back. But unfortunately, the whole time, our teammates are just, being really upset that, they're not denying every single soul that comes up. They're, yelling at them because they're not getting kills quick enough, or they don't understand where certain things are on the map. And I get that could be a bit frustrating if you really want to win, but at the same time, you have to play as a team. If you want to, what is going to kill your game faster than that new player joining the game right now is you immediately getting salty or upset because they're new and throwing a total, and almost tanking your own game. Thankfully, we pulled that through. We won it, but to be honest with you, everyone else around us, not everyone, but two other teammates were just really upset that I didn't, shadow them enough before hopping into a game. That I didn't give them enough training material or information on how to play this before, or they just also weren't skilled enough yet to where they should even be allowed to play in a public game. which was just crazy to me. I ended up in a weird way. I remember carrying that game as Haze or something, and but still, it's just it comes back to the fact that, like, look, if you are in a game with a new player, I guess I should start with first, if you are a new player to this game, what I would recommend is two things. Number one, get on a microphone and let us know that you're new, but also be on a mic. Communication is a big part of Deadlock. That is a really crucial skill to, that's going to be the fastest way to learn how to play Deadlock, is communicating with your team, within any match. And number two would be to, for new players, would be to just really just run around and just test anything out in any live game. Hop into a live game, play with real people, because that's going to be the fastest and easiest way for you to learn this game. And I think for all the people out there that love this game and want it to succeed, you have to just kind of suck it up. You're not, this person's new and they're not an expert or a pro at the game, but this is really the best and fastest way to learn how to play Deadlock. So I don't know. It was just that was kind of an upsetting moment for me currently with Deadlock, was playing that game with my friend and just I don't know. It comes back again to, like, if this game's gonna work, it needs to also have people who are genuine enough and nice enough to play with and everything. We'll see, though. It also just kind of, again, boils down to the people you meet online in general. I don't know. People just, for whatever reason, and I think it mainly just becomes it's mainly just because, Deadlock as a game itself is a competitive, environment. It's an environment where the objective is to win. It's not like TF2 where the environment is to win, but also be a silly, goofy guy and have fun. It's not like in Call of Duty where the environment is, oh yeah, dude, just get faded and just like play whatever you want, go nuts, who cares? It's Call of Duty. Deadlock is designed for winning. It's designed for playing to win and playing to get kills and playing to do objectives correctly, time things right, know your opponent's running, understand power level spikes, items, when to grab them, your soul count, KD ratio, which I love that. I love that about Deadlock, but it's and I think this kind of is going to segue to my next topic I want to talk about. It's hard to learn and grasp Deadlock if that is the only environment that's available. I would really like to hope that this is kind of getting into the topics of what I would like Valve to start doing or start implementing soon, even into this test period of Deadlock. And I think number one is going to be different game modes, more casual game modes, really. Game modes where, like, you can get into a match for 10 minutes, and in that environment, though, you're learning how your character works, you're learning how the movement works, you're learning a little bit about the map, maybe, you're learning about how other characters work and their other abilities and how those synchronize with you or could, throw you off. I'm not sure what those other game modes would be. I've heard ideas around Capture the Flag with the Soul Urns. That would be funny. I think that could work. I've also heard ideas around Team Deathmatch and everything, and you basically, the more kills you get, it kind of works like kill streaks. Maybe in Call of Duty, more kills you get, they let you get more items that make you stronger. I don't know. Whatever. I just spitballing ideas here, but having that other game mode, I think, would be really nice to have. I think that could bring new. I could think it could bring even existing people who are in this alpha test period back to the game to check it out again, or to pick it up and kind of learn from it again or whatever. I also think having a different game mode would add some levity to even just queuing right now. It would be beneficial for the people who are just currently in your test build environment, and it would. I think it'd also be great to learn how maybe that helps new players learn and develop specific skills within Deadlock. I think the things that are going to make new players get a hold of Deadlock and learn more about Deadlock fastest is obviously number one, getting to actual games. Number two, I think the bot experience being better would help tremendously. And number three, I think more casual game mode environments. I mean, look at Counter-Strike. There are a plethora of different game modes and casual versions of the competitive environment of Counter-Strike. And to be honest with you, other players use them because they're fun to pop into every once in a while. They're used to warm up. They're also used for people who don't want to play a competitive environment just yet and want to kind of learn how the guns work or learn how the maps look or blah, 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 blah. So I've actually gotten pushback on that from YouTube comments in the past. Like, people don't seem to think that that's important right now within the current state of the test environment within Deadlock. I personally do. I'd just be curious to think what Valve thinks is important right now. We're still, again, fairly early phases of that. I think one other thing I've heard a lot within playing games of Deadlock recently too is the need for a draft pick within Deadlock as well. Like the need for having specific classes and having support characters, having assassin characters, having tank characters, etc., etc. I am in the fence. I'm in the camp right now where I agree with him to a degree. I think it depends on the match that who your opponents are. But I'm not gonna lie, I do think a big part of Deadlock's magic at the moment for me is the fact that there are, is the fact that I think that you have the ability to build like compositions that are not considered like the meta, that are not considered like the default, like you have to have two of these. But unfortunately, there are situations, I think, where the hero balancing or the way certain heroes work, or even just, maybe even this comes down against skill level. I don't know 100%, to be honest with you. But where certain blowout matches occur as well. And, that comes back to affecting the matchmaking. But I also think that comes back to maybe the experience around, learning the actual game as well. Like, a draft pick thing would work maybe in like a really hardcore uber competitive environment, but I think that would be best for Deadlock. However, there's a small part of me that really hopes that Valve is trying to make it so that does not have to exist. Who knows if that comes down to updating this game or kind of changing the way this game works. Here's this great fight, by the way, with Abrams. This Abrams was packing such a weird build. He had Phantom Strike with his... And it was basically, it acts as like a dash where you're invincible. It was such a cool build, actually. Anyway, sorry, I got thrown off there. Yeah, as I was saying, it comes back to, though, I hope that Valve can figure out a way where they don't have to put a draft in this game. I think the beauty of Deadlock is that you could really run these crazy combinations of characters and heroes that synergize well with one another in interesting ways. But at the same time, like, there are like, if you get into a game where your opponents are Lash, Dynamo, Bebop, Abrams, and just constant CC characters while your team is just not rocking enough CC, then it becomes a problem. It becomes like one of those like nightmare fuel, like annoying, frustrating games. So I don't know. The community seems to be mixed on that right now. At least I think they might be more internally confused on that or mixed on it. This is a crazy fight, by the way. This is where this game gets crazy. That was just a crazy fight. But going back to what I was saying a minute ago, with the draft specifically, there are certain nightmare combinations, I think, that make that draft, make the case for putting a draft pretty substantially. All right. Enough about my little topics. Let's just talk about the rest of this game here. This Haze build is a lot of fun. I really hate to admit, though, I do kind of miss the ability to reload with a punch. I feel like I should make a punch Haze build. That I feel like could be a move. Something to consider. Maybe I would like to try to learn how to make my own builds within this game. I never seem to have accomplished the magic or the science behind how to do that. I might have to look up a few YouTube videos on how to do that, and maybe I'll report back to you guys. Let me know what you guys think, though, about the way this video has been done and edited. Part of me is kind of thinking that this could make it a really interesting video. This is a long game, though. This game is about an hour long, and I'm probably going to end up maybe editing certain things or fast-forwarding through certain things here or there, or even cutting certain things out. I have no idea. Normally, when I do these, I literally just, press play and just talk over it. But I'm going to kind of get a little bit more experimental with how I edit these videos and maybe how I make them. But I still want it to be an easy thing to make. These videos, I don't want them to be... The amount of work I put into my videos right now is really more over... quantity for sure, while still trying to improve on the quality of them currently. I don't know if I'll be able to make a masterpiece every single time I make a YouTube video, but I would like just, again, to make videos that are, you know, fun enough to watch. I think really the driving force, though, what makes these videos so great, though, is just sometimes the gameplay I capture. I miss that knife, and I'm so mad at myself for missing it here. Believe it or not, Ivy does a really cool move here. She backdoors us pretty hard on this walker. This was a tight game, and I think that's also why this game was so good, was the, you know, again, with the matchmaking being the way it is right now, the new player on our team was the Infernus, supposedly, because he got to like 11-2, or I'm sorry, 2-11, so 2 kills and 11 deaths. I think I ended here at 9-3. I think our 7, though, which of course, you know, it is 7. It's like, you know, yeah, congratulations. The guy who's playing the Call of Duty character is like the best player. No, I'm kidding. If I remember correctly, we were pretty evenly spread in terms of performance across the board. You know, and it wasn't a balanced team. We weren't all the same skill ranking. I think the way Deadlock's matchmaking is working right now, in my opinion, is it's trying to make the most complex and interesting match, you know, where there's a mix of really good opponents and then semi-so-so or not so good or even new opponents on one team versus another. Ivy's a lot of fun to play, by the way. If I do make another, you know, depending on how I make these videos in the near future, when I do make another video, I would like it to be another Ivy, or I would like it to be an Ivy video. I feel like I've played a lot of the same characters on my YouTube channel. I would like to at least even mix it up outside of my YouTube channel. To be honest, there are characters I still have not touched within Deadlock, and it's crazy to me to see people who are complaining that they can't get into a game because they only want to play Mokuro. I only want to play Geist. I only want to play... That's crazy. I cannot imagine only wanted to play one hero forever. I've been playing a lot of Haze, don't get me wrong. I get the itch to play a bunch, like, you know, the one character a lot, but I really appreciate the fact that the way the matchmaking system is, you know, working, or how complex and it's how also, who knows, whacked out and crazy the math is behind the scenes on it, is that it does push for a challenging experience, and it pushes for an experience where it at least is trying to mix up what the player's trying to do as well. I appreciate it for the fact that if you pick a lot of different characters, you will end up with pretty different and wild matchmaking experiences based on those characters. I would love to know the science also behind about, you know, hey, how many, you know, based on the amount of characters you have in the select screen and how it chooses, you know, what character you get next round. I wonder if it's just filling based on need, or if it's maybe filling based on your, you know, your rank progression. Who knows? I feel like Haze, by the way I play her typically, I know that my team is fighting up there on top on the, you know, in blue right now. I should join them, I guess, but to be honest with you, though, our team was not winning that fight to begin with, and I don't want to get caught in a situation where we're weaker now, where I'm weaker now because of my teammates' choices. I also, you know, want to make sure I'm getting this bridge buff here. It is gun, so I mean, how could I not grab that? In situations like this, I think it's important to do what's best for you, because you are part of the team, and theoretically, as you're getting stronger, in a weird way, the team is getting stronger. You know, it's a bit selfish, I know, but at the same time, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. Defense is such a big, important part of Deadlock also, and I think that's a thing that new players struggle with a lot, is understanding the pacing in the defense and how to play defense in Deadlock. That might be a video I might think about in the future. Here's Ivy again, trying to backdoor, like, thinking that they're smart. I almost got Ivy, but then Ivy popped a second you know, stone form, which is crazy. I missed my knife, which sucked. That was a crazy, by the way, really kudos on the movement I've been seeing lately from other players. This Ivy definitely outmaneuvers me here. I think combat-wise, I might have just been a bit more accurate, a bit more occupied with my spacing, and that's kind of why maybe I you know, she didn't get a kill on me, or she didn't get the walker. Here's me missing my... I feel like the knife, man, I'm not gonna lie, there's a small part of me that thinks that if Haze's knife is like level 4, the hitbox for the knife should get a little bit bigger, honestly. You have to be so accurate with that. And with the map that's this big and with this perspective, that's so hard to pull off. To be honest with you, if I could change anything about this build, I would change this. I would add Knockdown to Haze, because Knockdown is basically just a guaranteed free knife. if you think about it. And on top of that, you know, I mean, Haze's big, strong selling point is the ability for her to stun/sleep characters. And, you know, that's why knockdown is so crucial, I think. But this was a really close game. I mean, and it was so much fun, too. I normally don't, like, write the review for how the game's going at the end of my game, specifically. But for this one, I did. I gave it 5 stars, and I told Valve that it was the quintessential Deadlock experience. I'd be really curious. I don't know why we don't ever get an answer on this, because I know they started doing this in TF2. They never really did it for Counter-Strike, to my knowledge, but what does Valve do with all those surveys? You know what I mean? What does Valve do with that information for the surveys that they have within these games? Like, when I write any of those surveys out, I've only maybe done like 5 of them, if I'm being honest with you. And it's either because the game is really great or because my teammates were really rude or annoying and the game was really lackluster and piss poor. But has anyone asked, have we ever gotten an answer on like what Valve does with all that survey stuff and how those maybe affect certain decisions? I also would be curious to see how people are also, what they're writing within those as well. That Abrams, man, that Spirit Strike, to be honest with you, if... I'm trying to think who maybe was the weak link on the other team. If I had to guess, it was probably the Lash. I don't remember 100%. I know I showed the scorecard at the beginning, but God, playing Lash is so fun. And that is the thing about Deadlock, man. Watching even just watching any footage like this is just enough for me to be like, damn, I gotta play a game at Deadlock right now. I gotta experience what the hell ever is going on within this game. And I think what I love so much about it too is that it's very legible in terms of what's happening on the screen. If this was Overwatch, I remember like just playing that game and like the amount of lights and the amount of flashing colors across the screen, it just became so impossible to read what was kind of going on. This one's a lot more legible than Overwatch. I would argue, you know, have been moments where this game can get like absolutely cluster mess thing, and you know, who knows. I'll even, you know, kind of show a little bit of an example of that towards the end, but God, it's still so much more crisp and clean and easy to read compared to like other games like Overwatch, like Fortnite, like Call of Duty even. Jeez, legibility in games is definitely a lost art form, and I think it's because of the amount of effects that you can put onto the screen now. Game developers assume, you know, just immediately think and assume that like, oh my God, if we add 1 million effects at once, the game will look way nicer. And thankfully Valve's here to go like, actually, yes and no, but here's why. Our team's back here now, and the other team just got the other team just got the rejuice, so we are kind of in a pickle right now. God, this is such a long video. This is like an hour long. I was debating about editing this down, but the other part of me is like, maybe I should also see how much I could talk and keep that going. I know there's like professional comedians that do podcasts all by themselves, and that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Just think about this. This is kind of proto-anorganic pixel podcast. It's just, I'm just talking about gameplay, I guess. But that's what these Let's Plays are, right? I mean, is that not what, you know, YouTube videos are to an extent? My TF2 videos are kind of like that, but I do like to think that there's at least a story going on. With this one specifically, I am kind of rambling a little bit, but I kind of do that with my other ones as well. And YouTube's been kind of crazy as of late. I got very lucky, and I really appreciate all the new subscribers and even existing subscribers who are maybe checking out this channel for the first time or whatever, because it's crazy to see the growth that's been happening on the channel. And I also really appreciate everyone, you know, liking and whatever, commenting and whatever. But I don't know, this is like the one kind of series that I'm actually most impressed with every once in a while, because these are long videos and they do, you know, more views than I would expect, to be honest with you. Like the fact that some of my other Deadlock style videos that are like 20 minutes plus, I'm really impressed, surprised to see people actually like watch some of those and you know, check them out. So, you know, appreciate you guys tuning in, basically. This one's gonna be kind of interesting to do though. I kind of am going off the cuff here a little bit, more than my previous ones, and it's also a lot longer. But, it's kind of a bit of an uphill battle right now. I'm falling back though in this situation. This Infernus, unfortunately, I think it's caught out. No, he doesn't. Oh, Kelvin, I think it's caught out. Take that back. That was good. That was fun. People do not know about those doors, by the way. If you are a new player, I would really, really highly advise you just to spend an hour in the explore map option, because there is so much of the Deadlock map that going back to like my friend playing, they had a hard time figuring out how to get to mid boss in the 3-lane version of Deadlock, and I can't lie, it is kind of confusing. You have to like know what you're looking for, and part of me wonders if Valve might be also, who knows. I think one challenge that this game definitely has is the fact that it's third person, and I wonder if Valve plans to add more abilities to kind of ping and notify other players where certain things are happening. Because that is a big challenge, I think, when it comes to picking up and trying this game for the first time. Is number one, the map is definitely confusing and kind of like, chaotic now, especially with 3-lane. It looks feels a lot more like New York, but sometimes I imagine for a new person, it feels like you're lost in New York, which is not a fun feeling. But it's also, with that new map, with doing the whole exploring map option for new players too. I mean, you learn so much about different routes and different ways to use the environment to move and navigate. I know I've talked about this before in a previous video, and I think there's like a few videos or a few like instances where you can like pull up clips from previous videos where I've used the rocky terrain and park to basically get a lot more ammunition out of my gun and everything. Like little things like that, little details like that is what makes the Deadlock experience so interesting to me compared to like a game like League. I don't want to get too into it because the game's not out yet, and then on top of that, this also would play heavily into my review. But that's one thing I find so impressive about Deadlock is the third person perspective. People do not give that enough credit. Well, with how well done the third person perspective is in this game. Pause. And not only that, but even like the way the map looks. One thing I am confused about, to be honest, though, is the exact time period for what this. I know people like to say this is 1930s New York, but there are also a lot of non-1930s New York stuff happening here, like the fact that there's like cable TV apparently or satellite antennas on buildings and like telephone booths. I don't know. Part of me hopes it's a mix between 1930s New York, but also has like a little bit of a just a New York aesthetic, like modern day kind of, not modern day, but I want to say maybe like even 90s, early 90s theme going on. Getting movement as Haze is one of my favorite things to happen in this game. Like I know gun Haze is crazy, but movement Haze just feels so fun. It's so insane how quickly you can just navigate around the map, how you're like a Mach speed the whole time. And not only do I get movement though, I do get gun and movement. Yeah, at this point in the game though, running Earn, I don't really go crazy with the kills in this game of Deadlock, but I do go crazy with just kind of being in the background a lot. And I think that's kind of a new way to play Haze. Haze on launch was a totally different character than what she's become now. She is a very stealth-orientated character. She's a lot like the Spy from Team Fortress 2, but at the same time, I also really think she's a lot like Snake in Metal Gear Solid. Sometimes getting kills is great and all, but sometimes just running objectives like that on your own or backdooring certain like camps and stuff like that. Stealing camps, stealing farm from the other team, especially big farm, messing it up. I feel like that's a lot of what Haze is now. And it's been kind of a learning process for me because I'm so used to Haze where she's just like the arbiter of death and like her ult would just wipe, a Dynamo, Abrams, and Mirage in like one fell swoop or whatever. That was the Haze I was like really good at, and I'm trying to get good at new Haze. This is a good match for that though. I only died like 3 times. Again, I think one of the most important things any person who's playing Deadlock to learn is dying as little as possible is the most important thing you could do in Deadlock. Like the less you die, the the less you feed, the game feels so much easier because you have so much more time to feed yourself. You have so much more time to also know what's going on in the battlefield for the most part, of the map. One other tip too, as Haze, by the way, that I'm gonna maybe even talk about. I don't know when I showcase it here in this game, but pinging your enemies is really crucial too. And you have like basically the ability to get behind their backlines and just, you know, be like, hey, this guy's over here, Lash is here, Abrams is there. I see Abrams, he's prepping for an ult, just be prepared for that, blah, 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 blah. Calling that out. You can do that with any character, but as Haze, it's so much easier because you have the ability to go invisible. And using that invisibility thing too, I've gotten so much better at. I remember like when Haze first came out, I did not understand her second ability at all. Like her second ability was like so, I thought, useless. But now, especially with this 3-lane version of the map, that ability I think is so crucial and important to understand how it works. See, like, yeah, I don't think there was air conditioning in the 1930s, right? Those air vents would imply that air conditioning exists in this world. But then again, there's magic, so who knows? I mean, there's also a guy who atomized himself and then like is now living in a metal hull. So like, I don't know if this is really 1930s. I know like this design feel for it is. I don't know if that necessarily means though that the actual time period is 1930s. It'd be cool if this is basically Valve's like way of being like, oh yeah, this is actually an alternate reality where, you know, technology advanced so far, and they were like, well, technologically speaking, the 1930s Art Deco period is like the most aesthetically pleasing version of New York, so we're just going to stick with that forever now. And then I'll just go, yeah, you're right. We should totally do that. New York is just Art Deco city. And at this point in my build, I'm running Lucky Shot. Running Lucky Shot is nuts as Haze. Ricochet's a lot of fun as Haze, but man, I'm not a big fan of Glass Cannon because I just hate that. I hate that 10% you know, nerf you get with Glass Cannon. But man, Lucky Shot is just like making. Lucky Shot is just like turning on like a meat grinder with Haze. It's just also I love the sound the gun makes after Lucky Shot. It just sounds so much chunkier. Love that. Man, I hope one aspect of Deadlock when it fully comes out, and I guess this is going to kind of play into the whatever you want to call it, the narrative version of Deadlock that supposedly Valve is also working on. What is it called? It's like a story, like whatever those anime games. I'm just going to call it like an anime game. Yeah, they want to make Deadlock an anime game, like a narrative, a story, a game narrative, game novella. I'm forgetting the exact word, and I don't care enough to like Google it. So, but I hope that when Deadlock fully releases, it's a lot funnier. I think Deadlock as a game is so funny, and there are so many great lines from so many of its characters that are just genuinely very witty, very funny to listen through, very hilarious, and got that from Bebop though. Missed the sleep though. I missed that sleep because I was trying to turn my mouse left, and I remember my wrist like got caught on the mouse pad or whatever. I don't know. But I hope that when the narrative version of Deadlock comes out, like the choose your own adventure version or whatever you want to call it, I hope it's just like I hope it's funny. I hope it's like really like funnily written. I think I've seen YouTube videos of like the beta versions for it with Geist, and it sounds like it's a little bit of like and supposedly they're long too. They're not like very short, quick, like, hey, meet the pyro, meet the heavy like videos or whatever. But I don't know. It'd be interesting to see those. And also it'd be interesting to see them for however many characters they do. Knowing Valve, they'll probably do all of them, which would be hella sick. I think that's one of the things within Deadlock that gets overshadowed the most when it comes to people talking about this game is how good the writing is for these characters. It is unreal to me how, like, if you were to play a game like, oh, I don't know, any Ubisoft game, like I think I said this in my Defiant video that I made all those many moons ago, but the writing in that game is so damn corny, is so like cringe-inducing. It's so like awkward. It just feels like you're at a company HR meeting and they're like making jokes that would be approved by an HR department. This Abrams gets absolutely obliterated. Hell yeah. But this game does not feel like that at all. Deadlock just has this like really clever, witty writing. The characters have backbone to them. They have like different quirks behind each of them. Abrams is a huge, blue, menacing, towering behemoth of a demonic, entity or whatever. But he is like nervous, and he has like nervous tendencies. He knows how to be aggressive, but he's also like he kind of stumbles on his own words every once in a while, and that's just ingenious. Dynamo, another great character. He's so funny. He's so heartfelt. He's so kind and generous, but he's also like take no bullshit. Like I'm not an idiot like kind of person as well. He has a specific voice line with Vindicta, where Vindicta just tells him to shut up and like or whatever, like basically says that she's not like some show and tell project, and Dynamo is just like, oh man, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. He's very apologetic, which I also like. I another character that I love in terms of writing is Mo Krill. I really hope to God we get like a little like story thing or whatever of Mo Krill. I want a plushie of Krill, or no, Mo, excuse me. I want a plushie of Mo. I love that little guy, that big guy. He's such a cool little dude. I hate to say it, Mo Krill being so interesting is like, it is a reason for me to actually learn how to play Mo Krill. That's one of those characters that I have not picked up, and I really got to someday. I've been thinking about maybe like the next video I do would be one where I play a character who I am not familiar with at all, and I just like, whatever, raw dog it, and I just kind of go, whatever, see what happens here. Knowing Deadlock, though, and knowing actually what I think I know about the matchmaking in this game, I would probably get into a very low-tier version or a very like low-ranking game. So I wouldn't be too worried. If I had to pick a new character, Mokro would be a good place to start. Part of me is also curious if like I would really like Geist a lot. She is the bane of my existence when I'm playing a match. Honestly, she's like the one character who like I feel like messes me up the most out of any other kind of character that I play against with the characters that I pick. Abrams, Haze, Dynamo, Seven. I don't know why. Geist is just she's a menace to me, and I feel like I just have to maybe like pick her up and play her. She's also really great writing behind her as well. I also love her design and her look. She's such a cool, like, she reminds me so much of The Great Gatsby. I don't know why. I guess it's like the emerald green aspect of it. I don't know, but man, screw The Great. I hate The Great Gatsby. That book sucked. But honestly, that is what she reminds me of, The Great Gatsby. I don't know why Dynamo reminds me so much of Seinfeld, though. This Abrams, man. God, he got that gun buff. I was so pissed. I should have slapped him, but he got there a millisecond faster. And moments like that were why this game was great. I'm so happy that the recording system exists for Deadlock, because I did not get footage of that game. I wish I had, but I just, sometimes you'll just play a game and you're like, man, this would make a great video. It's just, unfortunately, you're in the middle of the game and you're like, well, damn, now I can't really do much here.
I see Bebop.
You won't have the rejuvenator for much longer.
Infernus, though, with the quick Bebop kill, honestly, kind of a big move. He gets kind of caught out guard, though. I'm really hoping... I think, actually, that Yamato's sleep saves him in a weird way. Oh, this part's great, actually. Hold on, I do remember this part. All right, so, real quick. Infernus is in there with Ivy right now, all by himself. And, thankfully, because we're all mic'd up, like, oh, hey, we can go help Infernus real quick. Another fun fact, during a pause, you are able to actually just see your other character, your teammate's perspective. If you hit like the F buttons, like F2, F3, F4, F5, you have the ability to cycle through the other character's perspective during a pause in a live game. I'm doing it here in the replay mode just to kind of give a quick narrative of what's going on, but doing that in a live game, big ups, like, definitely use that. That could save you, and especially in a situation like this, because I saw where Ivy, or I had an idea where Infernus was, this Ivy kill becomes so easy to get. Thankfully, Infernus pops his ult. I actually told him to do that with his, during the pause period on the mic. but unfortunately this all technically didn't kill her. With the fire thing, you know, he helped, whatever, we got the kill, that's all that matters, and I think that's what ends up kind of pushing us to win the game here in a minute here. You know, we got 2 picks off the Bebop and that Ivy. That pause in a weird way because the Geist game was like crashing or having a problem. Kind of saved us. People do not understand the power of the pause within Deadlock. There are so many instances where I think like, damn, if we had actually paused and game planned a little bit or taken a step back, just kind of thought of what might be best for the team right now in a certain situation, we would probably get, we would have probably won a certain fight, or we could probably get the urn here or there. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward now. One other thing, too, another video I've been thinking about making also is a video on how to farm faster or how to farm better. There are some interesting, like, optimal ways of farming within Deadlock, if you think about it. And I don't know, just some videos, ideas I have on Deadlock. I feel like that would be a good one. I don't know. It is weird to think of myself as a Deadlock content creator. I definitely am a TF2 content creator. That is what's weird also. But a very small one at the moment. That's okay though. It's been fun. It has been so fun doing YouTube or whatever, picking up this as a hobby as of late. I think I talked about this in another video before, but yeah, the shorts thing is a weird science I'm figuring out. That is definitely... I was not bred and born into the shorts era of content. I was already like becoming an old man at the time when shorts, or when TikToks or whatever you want to call them, became a thing. So that is something I've found some success in, but man, it is weird. That's a weird science though. Sometimes I'll make a short video and I'm like, damn, I thought that one would have been amazing. I thought that one would have like done serious numbers, but. Yeah, it's just one of those little things about, you know, doing YouTube videos. It's been fun. One other thing that's hard with YouTube videos, and this is where it's going to come up right now, please like and subscribe if you've been watching this video. This is a long one, I know. So if you have made it this far, leave a comment. I don't know. Tell me your favorite movie or whatever. I don't know. Just say something in the comments section. That would be incredible if someone actually made it this far into the video. This will be a long one. I don't know if it's going to do numbers, frankly, because of that, but... I don't know. I kind of get my thoughts out. Again, these are kind of videos that I think I make about Deadlock to kind of get my thoughts out, and also just kind of give myself like a little project to work on in terms of editing a video. This one should be fun to edit, or easy enough to edit, but we will see. I'm running Urn again here. Urn as Haze is so fast. I know Ivy is like the fan favorite to run Urn, but I don't know, man. Haze just bolts across the whole map. She gets so fast towards the late game, and so vicious in terms of damage as well as in the late game here. We're in a weird state right now of this game, and it's interesting because I remember like one small fight basically turns the whole game upside down for us. Oh wait, no, I remember now. Oh shoot, I don't even want to spoil it. It's actually the last fight of this game is absolutely bonkers. And what's interesting is my strategy right now, what's happening is the other team is working to start mid-boss right now. And my objective now becomes, in just a minute, and you'll see when it happens, once that Bebop... I'm trying to forget, is this the fight where it happens? I should just stop talking about it. I feel like I'm spoiling. I always feel bad that I might be like spoiling something in my videos, my own videos. Man, how does this fight go? So that Abrams is going to go crazy over here. I run... That just cool little maneuver here with the zip line. That could have gone very badly if I got shot right there. I think at this point is when I kind of just stay in their back line a little bit and I try to like just kind of annoy and pester them here and there. And because of that, because of me being a pain in the ass, our team takes mid, very, very, very cautiously takes mid. Like they barely get it, but in a weird way, my distraction here was kind of, and you can see I'm trying to distract here by just like firing my gun at nothing, you know, kind of like telling him where I'm at, like, hey, come here. And then this Ivy is trying to chase me down, sleep, run away. So this Ivy starts to chase me here a little bit, and the other team starts to head back. But they're not a full team against my empty team because of that. I don't know. In a weird way, I felt like I helped, but then this happens. just the longest, most uncomfortable, scariest pause of all time. And thankfully, I get to kind of clean house a little bit. Could have popped my ult here, but honestly, at this point, you know, I'm so crazy with the amount of perks and items I have that make my gun damage so absurd that it's just easier for me to just gun them down without ulting. I think I saved my ult for the end here. This was a great game. This will be an interesting video to edit, but you know, either way, thanks for watching, and you know, leave a like, comment, whatever, blah blah blah. I still love Deadlock, and if you guys like these videos and want more of them, let me know. I'd also be curious what you thought of this one specifically. This one is kind of more experimental than my other ones, so I don't know if that means it's better or if it means it's worse, but yeah, that's it. Thanks, bye.